Working with the great Thom Bell. Our special guests, Shannon Rubicam and George Merrill of Boy Meets Girl on Rock History Music. That great producer, Thom Bell, who was really responsible for some unbelievably popular songs in the history of music. The Delphonics' La La Means I Love You, the stylistic You Are Everything, People Make the World Go Round, Bet You By Golly Wow, the Spinners' I'll Be Around, even Elton John's Mama Can't Buy You Love. And I'm just naming a few. Shannon Rubicam, George Merrill of Boy Meets Girl, Rock History Music.
When Thom Bell produced Elton on Thom Bell sessions, I
Mm-hmm.
remember going, "Who's this Thom Bell guy?" And all my friends were going, older friends, "Well, let me tell you who Thom Bell is." Like a legend. What was it like working with him?
Oh, wow. Thom, well, I have to say, in some ways, he became a father figure for me. Just, the things that I learned from him weren't largely musical. He taught me about um, basic things like modulating up a minor third, which you'll hear if you study his arrangements, invariably happens in nearly all of his songs. But he had a couple of things that uh, he were his signature things, and he shared them with us. And so Shannon and I, we learned so much through the songwriting process of being um, uh, staff writers with Bellboy Music up in Seattle. And then it extended from there. Shannon and I ended up writing with Thom. We wrote
The Touch.
The Touch, Be My Baby, and also a Heartbreaker, which was like a kind of an add-on song on. I think we used it as a B-side for
a single.
maybe was it Oh Girl, or
I can't
might have
remember.
been the B-side, but yeah, it was on the first album. And then see, didn't we write another song? No, that was it. I was thinking we wrote for a future
But
album.
he sang background vocals on those songs on our first album. It was so fun. We're in this little rental house in Venice, California, and we turned the garage into, as best we could, to a recording studio. So Thom was in there. We all were writing together, and he's quite a jokester and a storyteller. And so we learned a lot about his Philly days and the people he'd worked with. But yeah, he was so talented, and he has such a recognizable style. So when you hear The Touch or really Heartbreaker, I think it shows up in both of those the most. You hear his changes and the kinds of background vocals. So the three of us had a great time singing together.
You just mentioned The Touch, and I just heard his mellifluous voice. I feel so much.
They still got it, these two.
Oh, yeah.
I feel so much. It's like I'm trying to sound like him, because it's like he taught us. Yeah, he helped teach me how to sing that way. So.
Where did you guys learn to phrase? Where was that unconscious?
I think our phrasing is quite different from one another.
Yeah.
Gosh, I probably learned mine from Joni Mitchell, honestly. I used to be much wordier.
You were a songwriting girl in the beginning. Yeah.
I think early on, I would say Bernie Taupin, because I fashioned myself as an Elton John, kind of writing to a page of lyrics. So I would look at Shannon's lyrics, and I would try to couch those lyrics rather than say, "Hey, fit this to my rhythm and melody," and that causes different things to happen. And so it would take my creativity in a different direction. She would have a big long phrase, and so like the out of "Oh girl, I don't need you, I never want to see you, do you understand?" I thought, like, emphasize "Oh girl," and then kind of come up with a rhythmic "I don't need you, I never want to see you."
Yeah.
And so "Do you understand?" and "Oh girl" ended up being the
bookends, kind
the
of
bookends that you come away from the song if you listen to it enough, you're going to get hooked by those two.
I was just listening to that before you guys got on, because I went, oh,
I love
remember
that.
we used to play that at K-Light in Edmonton when I was working there.
Oh,
I
Yeah.
love that. I love knowing that.
here's an oh girl story also. A&M Records was it La Brea Avenue?
It was
Yeah. So we
Sunset
were
and Lipstick.
coming back from a meeting with them. Oh Girl had just been released and they, threw some promo money at it. And it ended up in the top 40 in Los Angeles, probably Kiss Radio. And so we're driving down La Brea. It's evening. The radio's on, and all of a sudden, "Oh Girl" comes on.
I think it was actually Rick Dees in the afternoon.
It might have been.
Yeah.
And they announced it. They had this wonderful announcement for it. He said, "And this song is just plain good." So there was a gas station that we were just passing by. George pulls over and goes into the phone booth because nobody has cell phones, so there's a phone booth there. He puts some money and he calls the DJ and said, "This is George Merrill, and I
They
just
put
want
me
to
on
thank
air.
you because we're in the car and we heard you're playing our song."
They put you on air?
Yeah. It was hilarious.
It was such a different world.
Yeah,
I've
it's
got
actually one of
goosebumps.
those type of moments are one of the reasons that Shannon and I have always adored radio, because I mean we're having one now too. These sort of extemporaneous moments to us are these are our live. These are times where we get to share and communicate in a more intimate atmosphere. Some people are comfortable on stage and can manage to do that with 30,000 people out in front of them. We've always adored radio and this type of interview for that reason, because it's just fun. It's fun to connect.
Outside of music, what are you best at? What do you feel that you're best at?
I'm a really good organizer. I could have been Marie Kondo.
Oh, you are a good organizer. I
I
would
don't know
say
if that's a very good claim to fame, though.
Well, I think I think you're, I wouldn't say selling yourself short, but you're also quite a pilot of airplanes. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment too.
What?
She can fly a plane, for God's sake.
Well, how did that start? And how long have you been flying?
I reached a point in my life, almost a decade ago now, where I had some time, and I was bored, and I thought, well, I should volunteer for something. So I looked around online, and I thought, that's not really going to give me that feeling I want. So I just closed my eyes and asked myself, is there something I've forgotten that I want to do? I closed my eyes and had this technicolor vision looking in the side of a little plane, and I'm in the pilot seat. Nobody else is in the other seat either. So I went to the internet and I got a discovery flight. And when we took off from the runway, I think I went, woo, and the gal who gave me the discovery flight probably looked over and went, I think she's hooked. So I learned to fly, and I bought a little plane and had it all refurbished, and it's really fun and challenging.
When was that? When would that have started?
That was 2014, I think.
Wow.
Late in life. I wished I had learned much earlier, but I didn't. So it was the surprise when I did.
We have a song.
Surprise.
Nice.
The follow up to that, before I tell you whatever I'm going to come up with, which I haven't come up with, and I'm not stalling, is Shannon and I wrote a song called Night Flight that goes back to about 1978 or 1980. I think we wrote that song, and actually it might have been and in that song she sings about snowflakes strobing in the plane lights luring me out to the edge of midnight in this aurora's vast beauty.
I've gained the distance to
Thank
see.
you. Yeah.
And it's really the perspective when you're flying. Yeah. It's that you get to look down and see everything and what a gorgeous planet it is. And
yeah,
really,
but that's a great example of one of the things that I admire so much about Shannon, is where she draws that stuff, where she finds that kind of.
So what's the answer, George?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my dad was a Boeing engineer.
Oh, wow.
He is the chief tool designer of the 727, the 737, and the 747.
Got to get on this.
Yeah. And so Dad was an engineer, and he always kind of hoped that one of his sons, two sons, was going to follow in his footsteps. Well, my brother didn't. So it was up to me. And at the age of 10, as I've said, I kind of had made my choice of what I was going to do. And he was supportive, but he was always kind of urging me toward being an engineer. He took me up to the Boeing plant and showed me the building of the 747 and how they attached the wing to the body. And it was just, it's going through stress tests, all this cool stuff. And
well, wait a minute. You guys were in Seattle then? You were in Seattle?
We're born and raised up in the Northwest. Yeah. Okay. In fact, we're part Canadian, just so you know. Yeah. I mean, and every once in a while, we both kick in, and we start, we can help ourselves. We kind of like the accent comes up. So, but anyway, so getting back to the engineering thing, yeah, my dad was he was always urging me toward that, and so I think I have a latent engineer side. I love building things. I love looking at something and kind of figuring out the structural integrity of it, figuring out where its weakness and strengths are, and how to build things. I love that, and it's like so. I love building projects around the house, and I love getting into construction. I love being part of a crew and helping out. You
do.
Like rebuilding the decks around a house that I had and stuff like that. I love doing that sort of stuff as another aspect of myself.
We'll have more from Shannon Rubicam and George Merrill of Boy Meets Girl coming up in a few days. Keep coming back to the channel for more from Shannon Rubicam and George Merrill of Boy Meets Girl. And when the whole interview is available, we'll put the link at the very top of every video that features them, so it'll be easier for you to find. And there'll also be links to the podcast when it's ready. Remember, if you want to make a donation to the channel and help us grow, there's a PayPal link at the very top of the description. Also, join our Patreon. You'll get early access to all our videos. Subscribe to our channel. We've got great swag. If you want to buy a t-shirt or a coat or a hat, it's all at the very top of the description, the link. But subscribe to the channel, like our videos, comment on them, and share them on social media. We'd appreciate that. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music.